How's it going, everybody? This is Novakast back with another video for you guys talking about WandaVision, and this is Season 1, Episode 6, and oh boy, do things get somewhat interesting. So I want to say, okay, first episode, 50s. Second episode was the 60s. Third episode was the 70s. Then fifth episode going on to the 80s. So now it's the 90s. And yeah, it kind of displays that whole kind of setup of it being a 90s type sitcom. Kind of reminded me of like something like Malcolm in the Middle, where you have some of the main characters kind of doing an inner monologue to the audience, which I thought was pretty interesting. We get to see the X-Men Pietro interacting with the kids, which to some extent seems he's great with kids, but a bad influence to an extent. And this is like, I don't know if I want to call this a Halloween episode, but if they're getting ready for Halloween, Wanda, who wears a kind of a classic version of the Scarlet Witch costume, I thought was pretty cool, as well as to some extent something close to Vision's old look, which I thought that was pretty interesting. Oh, and by the way, another reference to for when it comes to Quicksilver, which I thought was hilarious. We get some other interactions of like outside of the barrier. Apparently the director, who's kind of keeping an eye on the Hex, as they're calling it, seems like he's after something, and three of our main, I guess protagonists of like trying to figure out what Wanda wants, gets removed from the site because they to some extent decided to, I don't want to say disrespect, but kind of question his motives. And it's clear, like very clear, that apparently this individual is after Vision, because there's a point where the three, before they're escorted, by the way, they are able to incapacitate the guards that were escorting them out, and to try to collect data. And for one thing, it's made clear that apparently Robot, I'm assuming, I can't remember her exact name. For the life of me, I can't remember the character's name. But the person who was Gerilda, or Gerilda, apparently her, after they ran some tests, her blood or her genetics have somehow been altered. Not once, but twice, going through the barrier. So it's, when she mentions that she wants to go back in, they question what happens if she goes back in a third or fourth time. They won't know. Vision, while Wanda and Quicksilver and the boys are going trick-or-treating, is kind of going around. He claims he was helping the neighborhood watch, but in reality is trying to check out the town. And in some sense, kind of leaving the episode, or leaving or removing himself out of Wanda's sight, sees what's going on in the background. Apparently people kind of put in stasis to some extent, where they are kind of either standing still or kind of like, I don't know how to put it. I mean, it looks, they're standing there in place, and I'm assuming they're conscious, because there's this one character who looks like they're putting up a ghost prop outside, and they're kind of like in a sort of loop where they're hooking it up and then unhooking it, and you can see a tear coming down their face. So it's clear that they are like, they acknowledge, or they are, even though they have no control, are acknowledging what is going on, which is insane to think about. I couldn't even imagine what that would probably feel like. But anyways, by the way, we also get a little cool tidbit. Apparently the kids, Billy and Tommy, Wanda and Vision's kids, They have superpowers. I was just like, what? There's no way. But, yep. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Tommy. He has super speed, like Quicksilver / Pietro. And as we find out like near the last bit of the episode, Billy, I might have it mixed up, let me know. But yeah, one of the other sons is a telepath, like Wanda. And this is uncovered when Vision decides that he wants out. He wants out of the... After having after having a really disturbing conversation with Agnes, who was kind of stuck in the background, who basically tells him he's dead, he proceeds to try to walk out of the barrier. And this does not go well, because as he's trying to come out of the barrier, his body starts ripping apart. The son, or at least the son that was the telepath, realizes this, or feels it, proceeds to tell Wanda, and Wanda does something actually really interesting. She then proceeds to use her powers to expand the reach of the barrier, and everything that gets caught in, or gets caught into the barrier, ends up getting changed. So for instance, like several of the soldiers end up becoming clowns. The whole base, or mobile base, that was created by Sword becomes like a circus tent. A helicopter becomes a hot air balloon, which I thought was kind of funny. A dealership becomes a used car dealership, and it's just freaking insane. Also, by the way, there's a couple of references. Like, there was something else too, because they Pietro may or may not even be like in control, or at least I don't want to say in control, but may not even be a part of what Wanda has already, because there's references from Pietro about how, like, what she's doing, how she's doing it. Makes a reference about, people dying, which I thought was interesting, especially since, both Pietro and Vision are both characters who have died. And to an extent is in full acknowledgement of what's really going on. But then again, it's Pietro, it's the brother. He knew already the powers of Wanda. So all in all, I am curious of what's going to happen, especially now the reach of the Hex has expanded over Westview. So who knows what's going to happen now. I'm curious of what later episodes are going to bring us. But enough of that. I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.